this is the final update before my comeback. Tonight I wanted to try a little something new to get some feedback on your thoughts. It's in regards to visual references during ASMR. So, like for me, I use ASMR every night when I go to bed. It is just my habit. I put my headphones in and I rotate through different videos that should give me triggers, and sometimes I have to try different ones while I'm doing this. Let me go try to get her to stop snoring. Sorry, I had to show you that. That's an update too, for those of you that love my dogs. Anyway, so yeah, I want to try to do this sample video tonight to see what your thoughts are on visual references. When I go to bed, I don't watch ASMR. I listen to ASMR. So I literally never watch, because one, when you're trying to go to sleep, if you're watching screens, computers, phones, it's blue light and it's bad. And I have these glasses that are blue light. In fact, you can kind of see some blue. They have a blue tint to them that blocks out the blue light. But even then, I have rarely watched obviously I have to look at my phone to pick the video out, but I don't watch it when I'm listening to it. So what I need to know, when I'm doing visual stuff, it takes a lot more time to create a video with visuals than it does just to put a camera up and watch me, and then I just have to whisper. But when you're creating visual content as well, it is a lot more work, but I would like to do it if it's something that makes a difference. So I'm doing this sample, and here in a little bit I'm going to play this sample that has video. And there's two reasons I wanted to try this out, because this is video footage that I have taken off the internet. So there may be, I might get a strike from YouTube. I don't know how this is going to work, because I know you can sample people's other videos. I could do a commentary, say for example, of a music video, and I could play a few seconds of it, and I could say, okay, see how he did that? Or snippets of a movie and do a movie review, and that's legal use of someone else's material. But I don't know, because I have so much of a compilation put together, I don't know what it will do. So I need to see what it will do to see if it's even possible. But I'd also like to know if you like it. If you're not watching it, then it's a colossal waste of time for me to worry about doing anything other than this. Just me talking to the camera and knowing that you aren't watching me, that you're just listening, trying to, have an ASMR experience. And so that's what I'd like to know. If you don't mind to take the time to just let me know, hey Derek, I only listen to, perfect, me too. Or hey, I'm an actual watcher, because I know there are people that's why everybody does this stuff. They do all the visual triggers as well, and I just don't, because I don't use visual triggers. I don't do visual triggers, and so I'd like to know your thoughts. Secondly, this topic is very interesting because it's about solitude, and I, for one, have spent a lot of time why solitude can actually be very, very healthy and actually could be necessary for a mentally healthy life, mentally healthy existence. I believe it is, and I count it as one of the things that's made me much stronger, and I feel like it's made me wiser. So the other thing for me is like my job has always been so social that at night I feel like I need solitude to counterbalance my social work life, because it's like my daytime I'm always with people, you know, not always, but a lot of times when I'm showing homes or at closings or anyway, and this would be another thing that's bad for solitude. If you want a true solitude experience, you shut these dang things off. Shut your internet off and just be alone with the thoughts in your mind. And you'll hear a lot about that in this video. So I hope that you enjoy this. If not, please, no hard feelings. Trust me, you'll make my life a whole lot easier if you say, Derek, it's not necessary. But I'd like to get your thoughts, and yeah, so I hope you enjoy it. And after I get this, I'm gonna really have everything fine-tuned as far as what I'm gonna do, and I am coming back for good. Well, for at least another run of probably 100 videos. How about that? Because when I get a second and third wind, I get going. So I've done this a couple times over the 4.5 years I've had my channel. I always need to take a little break just to get re-energized and reinvigorated to come back and give you a better experience and better information. So I'm really excited about it. I do miss you guys. I appreciate everybody that has commented lately and on my update video. It's just been a blessing to know that you guys are still out there. Thank you also to my channel members that are sticking with me. I can't believe you guys. It's like, God, that's like so amazing. You guys are fascinating, and I just it's almost impossible to leave. So I hope you enjoy it. It's like 11 minutes long, this little sample. So hope you like it. If you think it's not necessary, let me know, and I will see you very soon. To live alone, one must be either a beast or a god, says Aristotle, leaving out the third case, one must be both. According to a 2010 study published in the journal PLS Medicine, the health risks of chronic loneliness are equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. To mitigate the harms of loneliness, we can increase our social connectedness, but we can also improve our capacity to be alone, for not all who are alone are lonely. Regarding his extended time spent alone at Walden Pond, the philosopher Henry David Thoreau proclaimed, "I am never lonely here. I never found the companion that was so companionable as solitude." In this video, we explore the virtues of solitude and examine why, far from being damaging to health as is loneliness, solitude promotes self-confidence, creates conditions of unparalleled freedom, cures many mental health problems, and is necessary for the cultivation of a great character. Loneliness is one thing, solitude another. You have learned that now. In his book Solitude, A Philosophical Encounter, the philosopher Philip Koch defines solitude as a stretch of experience disengaged from other people in perception, thought, emotion, and action. Solitude is simply an experiential world in which other people are absent. That is enough for solitude. That is constant through all solitudes. Many of the towering figures of history ascended to their legendary status by harnessing the benefits found in long stretches of solitude. The 40 days and nights Jesus spent wrestling with the devil in the desert spurred him to his spiritual heights. Lao Tzu, Buddha, and Moses found in solitude the great moral visions which define their lives. Marcus Aurelius, Friedrich Nietzsche, Ralph Waldo Thomas, Henry David Thoreau, and other philosophers saw in solitude a sanctuary to cultivate their character and develop their philosophical insights from the corrupting influence of society. Nietzsche wrote that, "When I am among the many, I live as the many do, and I do not think as I really think. After a time, it always seems as though they want to banish me from myself and rob me of my soul. I then require the desert so as to grow good again." Admiral Richard Byrd spent a winter alone in the Atlantic where he endured brutal cold, long black nights, and, in his words, an isolation which no power on earth could lift for at least 6 months. But rather than being lonely, this intense period of solitude was the most transformative of his life, for as he wrote in his book Alone, "Yes, solitude is greater than I anticipated. My sense of values is changing, and many things which before were in solution in my mind now seem to be crystallizing." Why do some individuals thrive in solitude while others suffer under the weight of loneliness? Simply put, the lonely are ignorant of the great virtues of solitude or do not know how to harness them, and for most among the virtues of solitude is the freedom to discover who we are and to become that person, or as the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer observed, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free. Constraint is always present in society, like a companion of whom there is no riddance, and to the greatness of a man's individuality, it will be hard for him to bear the sacrifice. To grasp the freedom which solitude offers, we can dwell on the constraints present in social engagements. Friends, family, and romantic partners are important ingredients in a good life, but they also represent what Philip Koch called structures of demands. Demands to be listened to with an interest commensurate with their expectations, cared for according to their requirements, followed or led along the trail at their own pace. Moreover, the emotional state of others constrains our experience. When others are cheerful, it lifts us up, but a bad mood often brings us down. In either case, our emotional state is not autonomous, but dependent on the people around us. Or as R.D. Laing writes, "They are not having fun. I can't have fun if they don't. If I can get them to have fun, then I can have fun with them. Getting them to have fun is not fun. It is hard work." Even strangers constrain our experience. The philosopher John Sartre wrote, "To imagine ourselves alone in a park, we are enjoying our experience of the trees and the birds. They exist for us alone, but then another individual sits on the bench across from us. We become aware that we are now an object in someone else's consciousness, and this disrupts our idyllic communion with the environment. In an analogous manner, the psychologist pointed out the disappointing feeling that comes upon a solitary hiker when he sees another hiker approach in the distance. He immediately feels more self-conscious and less free, less able to simply be. This is what Sartre meant by the phrase, 'Hell is other people.' By the mere appearance of the other, I am put in the position of passing judgment on myself as an object, for it is as an object that I appear to the other. Solitude is characterized by unresistant and freedom that is inaccessible in social engagement. In solitude, we are free to enjoy our surroundings without the disrupting awareness that we are an object in someone else's perceptual field. We are free to do what we want when we want. We can think or feel anything and follow our passions with no concern for what others will think of us or whether we are meeting their expectations or demands. Free, it feels strange at first. No one bounding you on any side." The philosopher William Hazlitt made a habit of going on long walks simply to enjoy the freedom of solitude, and as noted, the soul of a solitary journey is liberty, perfect liberty to think, feel, do just as one pleases. For once, I like to have it all my own way, and this is impossible unless you are alone. William Hazlitt, Table Talk. Thoreau remarked, I go and come it stark naked. Certainly freedom of movement is a universal metaphor for the spiritual freedom of solitude, where our spirits wander, ramble, or leap, or soar. A philosophical encounter for one's sake, but also a means to self-discovery and personal growth for when men alone have social constraints that bound our experience. We can engage in what Philip Koch calls the attunement to self, or as he explained, attunement to self is best characterized by the image of free flow, the flowing into awareness of thoughts, desires, and emotions with no sense of censorship or management, together with a free-flowing access backwards towards their origins. It's in touch with aspects of our selfhood that we bury beneath the social masks we wear when around others. But in solitude, we are free to take off the masks, as there is no one to listen to or answer but the voice of our conscience. After a long, difficult relationship, the novelist May Sarton spent extended time in total solitude, and she wrote in Journal of Solitude, "I begin to have intimations now of a return to some deep self that has been too absorbed and too battered to function." Or as the American philosopher Thomas Merton echoed in The Silent Life, "Not all men are called to be hermits, but all men need enough silence and solitude in their lives to enable the deep inner voice of their own true self to be heard, at least occasionally. When that inner voice is not heard, life is always miserable and exhausting. If a man is constantly exiled from his own home, locked out of his own spiritual solitude, he ceases to be a true person. He no longer lives as a man." The voices we hear in solitude, however, are not always pleasant. Sometimes an attunement to self involves the reliving of past traumas and the emergence of painful emotions, fears, and anxieties we have been avoiding by immersing ourselves in the distractions of society. This state of inner attunement is not always joyful or serene. Sometimes it involves filling with devastating intensity the conflicts, the rages, the intimations of mortality we have been trying to deny. Yearnings, rages, jealousness, dependencies, and entanglements can be safely lived through when the persons come upon whom we might wrongly or dangerously or foolishly unleash them are absent. A philosophical encounter emergence and solitude can cause suffering. Their surfacing gives us the chance to consciously confront them, and if we use this opportunity to sit in silence and allow our anxieties and distressing emotions to wash over us, we can process, resolve, release them, and heal the chronic mental health problems they were generating. As Albert Camus observed, when a man has learned, and not on paper, how to remain alone with his suffering, how to become his longing to flee, then he has little left to learn. The healing of power is not hyperbole. The Japanese physician Shoma Morita developed a form of psychotherapy based on Zen Buddhism, which forgoes therapeutic and pharmaceutical intervention in favor of providing the patient an environment of solitude where he is forced to confront the suffering he has been avoiding. Or as Lisa Faith explains upon his arrival at the hospital, the neurotic patient must have complete bed rest for up to a week. During this time, he is not permitted to associate with anyone else. He must not read or write, smoke, telephone, listen to the radio, or watch television. The patient is left alone with his illness. Until he and his illness become one, he has to accept his illness in complete solitude. Lisa Faith, Hermits and Recluses. Great virtues of solitude, and in some solitude was valued even more than sociality. Among the Tarahumara Indians of the Sierra Madre in Mexico, Professor Aldi noted almost a cult of solitude, and as he continues, a little boy of 6 may take his ration of pinole, corn, ground into a powder, and disappear with the sheep 1 or 2 weeks without a single person before he returns. These Indians are so accustomed to leading solitary lives, they feel embarrassed and at a loss when called on to converse with others. For example, solitary guests were an integral part of the rites of passage. Adolescent boy transitioned to manhood in a rite of passage. A boy was taken to a secluded camp. In the wilderness, there he remained alone, sometimes for months. Anything he needed to survive he made, or found himself. He hunted, foraged, protected himself from predators, and faced his fear of the unknown and of the darkness. He underwent an attunement to self and confronted and surmounted his loneliness, anxieties, dependencies, and transformed his mind from an unruly enemy into a trusted friend. Only those who succeeded in this solitary quest were considered by the community to be real men, and as James Hollis writes, ritual isolation is an introduction to a central truth that no matter how tribal our social life, we are on the journey alone and must learn to draw strength and solace from within. The boy learned to depend on his wits, his courage, and his weapons, or he perished. Culturally sanctioned solitary quests have been common in every known culture throughout history, except ours. This reflects our society's deep aversion to solitude. Instead of being seen as a precious gift, many see solitude as something to be endured in between social engagements or relationships, or worse, solitude is seen as something to be evaded when other people are not present. Most of us stare at screens to distract ourselves from our aloneness and the voices we might hear in the silence. Perhaps this collective flight from solitude is the reason why mental illness and weakness are the new norm. For as the 17th century philosopher Blaise Pascal observed, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone.